Have you ever seen a trailer for a movie that advertised itself as one thing but ended up being something completely different by the time you walked out, be it a profoundly or negative experience? I remember a movie from 2017 called A Ghost Story, which by the name alone would suggest it had some kind of horror angle to it. I found time to sit down and watch the movie, and it ended up being a beautiful, well thought out, greatly shot existential drama that was less about a spooky looking ghost just going from point A to point B, and more about loss and what we leave behind when we're gone. Since then, I've gotten bait and switched with a few other movies, but one that really caught me off guard with the marketing material was The Presence, using quotes in the advertising like a spellbinding horror experience, or one of the scariest movies you'll see this year. I had set expectations when I sat down to watch it. This latest film from director Steven Soderbergh was a movie that completely subverted my expectations despite what it was marketed as, and I walked away from it feeling some type of way. Was I going to experience a horror masterpiece, or was I going to sit with my thoughts for a while after I just watched this thankfully short 85-minute film? What's good, everybody out there? It is your boy, DatChickenWang, part of the DatChickenWang gang crew, here to bring you another review nobody asked for a movie that is already on streaming, but I thought that I needed to talk about. Everybody, this is my review for The Presence. Why is my camera on? Presence tells the story of a family that recently moved into a new home that are still also coming to grips with their own circumstances of what occurred in their lives before they moved in. We have the mother, Rebecca, played by Lucy Liu, the father, Chris, played by Chris Sullivan, the daughter, Chloe, played by Kalina Leong, and the big brother, Tyler, played by Eddie Madej. The movie starts off slowly as we get to learn more about the family and the whole dynamic they have. Chloe had a friend who recently passed away under mysterious circumstances, yet Rebecca doesn't know how to help her daughter cope with the loss as she is 110% more invested in her son Tyler. Meanwhile, Chris is trying to keep the peace while also considering leaving Rebecca because she may have some shady work dealings going on behind his back that could affect all of them in a legal way. This sounds like a lot to take in as we don't really even know who our main protagonist is. Well, it turns out before we even meet this family, we're seeing the events leading up to their eventual move into this house through the eyes of the actual protagonist, the presence itself. Well, hey there, you guessed it, people. What some could mistake as a unique way of filming this movie with the long drawn-out takes, and with the floaty camera movements sometimes, it's because we're seeing everything through the eyes of the presence, which I think makes this movie very unique because we're seeing essentially is a family drama with some supernatural elements thrown in. And we also get to learn about the family that we're seeing through the eyes of the presence very organically because we are just learning about the family as if we were there with them. And this even leads to some shots that may feel a little uncomfortable, but we're like peeking over people's shoulders to see what they're looking at on their computers. We are following people are having intimate moments. We are following people that are trying to go outside to get some privacy to talk so the people in the family doesn't hear them. I thought this was a unique take on the supernatural genre. So sadly, while this is a family drama at heart with a slight smidge of supernatural elements sprinkled in, it only really feels like half of the family are made up of fully developed characters. Rebecca usually has her guard up when it comes to both Chris and Chloe, but whenever Tyler is talking, she's fully invested in everything he's saying, even if what he's saying makes him sound like a massive jerk. Tyler is your average high school jock that's cool to his friends, but pretty crappy to everyone else, including his sister. He wants her to get over the passing of her friend, whom he just outright says her death was caused by her having a drug overdose. Chris, though, is the glue that holds the whole family together and pretty much the big standout in the movie. He calls Tyler out on his BS multiple times, delivering some of the best lines in the movie, which are zingers you're going to have to hear for yourself for specific reasons. He also seems to be the only one that understands Chloe is going through some major emotions after losing one of her best friends. And here you have Chloe, the rebellious teenage archetype you'd expect with a mother like she has, so she parties, drinks, and does other things that rebellious young woman might do. She is also, however, hiding a great sense of sadness over the loss of her friend, which allows her to have a subtle sense of the presence. Lastly, there is the character of Ryan, played by Wes Mulholland, who plays the cool, chill friend. He's one of Tyler's friends at school, but also ends up taking a liking to Chloe. Ooh, but your boy Tyler, big brother Tyler, he upsets the presence so much at a point in the movie that it pretty much makes itself known, and it's like, everybody knows that, hey, you're in my house now. So now that the cat's out of the bag and the family knows that there's a ghostly presence around them, what are they going to do? How are they going to keep on living? So once the big reveal has been made, we are introduced to a character named Lisa, who has the ability to sense, possibly even see the presence. And she actually provides some information to the family that might have you recontextualizing the entire film if you decide to watch it a second time. And while her character, like I said, may be able to sense or see the presence in some way, I think her performance when she's on screen, for as short as it is probably one of the funniest parts of the movie, for reasons I don't want to give away. One thing that needs to be absolutely mentioned about this movie is the camera work and how smooth everything feels. I initially thought this was probably the work of a very skilled drone pilot, but then there are points when going up and down the stairs there is a slight camera shake or the camera moves a little slower. The way the motion works and moves around the house while being smooth was an amazing touch. Yes, there are other movies shot entirely in first person like Hardcore Henry, or there are movies that have first person moments like Doom, but the camera work here is intentionally smooth and doesn't defy physics or anything, keeping the movie fairly grounded. The movie was shot on a Sony A9 III and used some type of gimbal to keep the motion smooth and stable when moving around. YouTuber Patrick Tommaso did a breakdown of how this movie was shot and even did his own camera test with a similar setup to see how it looked, and the results speak for themselves. I highly recommend checking out his YouTube video going into more detail about how this film was made because it was insightful and had cast interviews, so we'll leave a link in the description of this video if you'd like to know more. So with a budget of around $2 million and being filmed in the course of less than 2 weeks, they managed to pull off a lot of magic with just the use of this one camera and some well-directed one-shot takes. Sonnenberg even does most of the camera work, essentially putting himself in the shoes of the protagonist, the presence itself. And while I do got to give props on the camera work, some of the editing posts wasn't as tight as I would have wanted it to be. Like, there is a sound effect, it's a very loud ringing sound that it might be the presence trying to get someone to acknowledge it or just signal to somebody. There's also this one weird kind of effect where the screen shakes and you hear a low boom. It's a little something like this. And again, I assume that's the presence just trying to get someone's attention, but considering the other feats the presence is pulled off throughout the movie, it seems a little out of place. But still, that never got in the way of my enjoyment of the film, which is my last talking point. Like I mentioned in the intro, this movie was advertised as a horror movie. If I went to see this movie in theaters expecting a horror experience, I'd probably be pretty upset that this hardly felt like a horror movie at all. There may be horror elements due to this being a haunted house film, but this is definitely more of a family drama suspense thriller with supernatural elements thrown in. The presence plays a very passive role in the movie for a large majority of it, but when things end up reaching the climax of the movie, things go down in a way I wasn't expecting, which made for a very impactful ending. Okay, so you're gonna have to bear with me on this one, but on my first watch of the movie, I was a little confused at the end when it's revealed who or what the presence is. I mean, the movie leaves a lot open for interpretation, and then you have to come back to that conversation we had with Lisa, who could sense the presence, and she says that the presence doesn't know who it is, where it is, and that time might flow differently for it. So if you take the end of the movie and recontextualize it from end back to all the way back to the beginning, you kind of come off with something that's a little bit more sadder and bittersweet when you think about it. But my headcanon just thought about everything differently when I was just watching it my first go. Even still, when Rebecca is having her realization and we pan away from the family, we have one more beautiful shot of the presence doing something it's never done before, which kind of ends the movie on a hopeful note. So I personally enjoyed The Presence, and as of now I've seen it twice in an effort to try and better understand what the director wanted to convey with the ending. If you watch it for the first time, I don't really think you have to worry about it. You should walk away pleased, but there are some theories you can look up online just in case you're curious. This is a unique viewing experience. You're seeing the lives of this family unfold through the eyes of a different type of protagonist, and being under an hour and a half, it's hard not to recommend, especially because the ending can leave you feeling chills, and that's not something I've had in a while. This movie has the drama, the suspense, there's some scary elements, but it's not a horror movie, just go in knowing that. And if you do decide to check out The Presence, I hope you enjoy yourself. And with that, I'm going to give The Presence 8 out of 11 chicken wings. I went in expecting something else, but was quite happy that I received something else I didn't know I wanted, especially regarding the cinematography that was beautifully shot throughout. It's short, it's entertaining, and it is a unique twist on supernatural haunted house movie. Some things could have been better, especially closing out certain subplots, but with the ending actually making me feel something, I think this is an easy movie to recommend to anyone that can keep an open mind about it. Well, that's the review, and if you've made it this far, thank you kindly for your viewing time and hoping you like what you saw. I personally hope the next review is for Sinners if I get to see it in time, but if not, maybe it'll be time for that 2025 movie catch-up review I've been talking about. But hey, as I work for your likes and subs, please let me know if you have any comments, criticisms, or advice going forward. And if you have your own headcanon on who or what the presence actually was too, let me know in the comments. Once again, thank you for coming on through, and hope to catch y'all for the next one. Yo yo!